Thursday, October 31st. The YouTube homepage is crowded with video essays, even months after the Batman's release. Hidden in the thumbnails is the clickbait, waiting to strike like snakes. And I'm there too, uploading. 3 years of editing has turned me into a nocturnal animal. I must choose my topics carefully. It's a big platform. I can't cover everything, but they don't know what's trending like I do. We have a community tab now, for when it's needed. When that post hits the front page, it's not just a call, it's a warning. To them. Premiere is a tool. They think I'm hiding in the algorithm, but I am the algorithm. I wish I could say I'm making a difference, but I don't know. Outrage, summaries, clickbait. 3 years later, they're all up. And now this. This platform's eating itself. Maybe it can't be saved, but I have to try. Push myself. These nights all roll together in a rush, in front of the timeline. Sometimes, in the morning, I have to force myself to rewatch everything I edited.
We first meet Batman through his voiceover, which is intensely edgy almost to the point of comedy. But that's not a bad thing. Yes, Bruce unironically calls himself a nocturnal animal and says things like,
"They think I'm hiding in the shadows, but I am the shadows."
Taken at face value, this is ripped straight out of a melodramatic teenager's diary, but it shows how dangerously obsessed Bruce is with his war on crime and with the power of fear. Yet when the bat signal hits the sky, we see that criminals do indeed fear the Batman. This masked thug who robs a convenience store sees the bat signal and becomes jumpy and terrified, expecting to see the Dark Knight emerge from the shadows to pulverize him. And the audience too expects Batman to emerge here. Yet as Bruce himself acknowledges, Gotham is a big city and he can't be everywhere, but the power of fear will at least keep lawbreakers frightened. Batman has mastered the ability to instill fear in the criminal element, but that alone does not make him an effective or heroic figure. When Batman makes his first physical appearance in the film, it's to confront a band of crooks beating a man on a subway platform. After Bruce dispatches the group in a brutal fashion, how does the man that Bruce saves respond to this?
Please don't hurt me.
Even after Batman rescues him from being mugged, the man is still terrified, as he's clearly afraid that Batman will come after him next. That's not the response that a hero should garner, but it's the one that both Gotham's criminals and Gotham citizens respond with, which is effectively the response one would have to encountering a killer in a slasher movie. Batman, for many sequences in this film, is shot and presented as a horror movie monster, as a frightening, imposing, vengeful figure that all should be afraid of. While that take on Batman, in isolation, is not my preferred interpretation of the character, it's the growth that Batman goes on in this film that makes it such a perfect Batman story. To expand on this idea, let's look at Batman's and Catwoman's interactions throughout the film. While Bruce's and Selina's relationship is generally cooperative, Batman almost entirely disregards Catwoman's objectives and concerns for the majority of the movie. When Selina agrees to help Batman by snooping for information in the Iceberg Lounge, Batman says the following:
"You're gonna help me on this. For your friend."
Note how Batman phrases this as a statement and not as a question, as well as how he manipulates Selina by emphasizing the importance of helping her friend, Annika, who is obviously in grave danger. Batman, however, is far more concerned with accomplishing his own goals, which in this case is finding a lead in his investigation into the Riddler.
Keep him talking. Wait, where are you going?
She knows Annika.
No, stay on the DA.
I told you I'm looking for my friend.
Bruce uses Selina without any regard to her well-being or Annika's well-being, and that's why Selina cuts contact with him later in the scene. Again, this callous approach to being Batman not only fails to provide tangible results for Bruce, But it also drives him further away from the people in his life and further away from being the hero that Gotham City needs him to become. While Batman may be effective, and perhaps even too effective, at frightening those around him, it's the examination of Bruce's own fears in this film that truly shine. When Alfred is nearly killed by one of the Riddler's bombs, Alfred apologizes to Bruce for not being the loving father that Bruce needed him to be. Seeing this vulnerability from Alfred and recognizing how important his surrogate father is to him, Bruce opens up to another human being for the first time in the film.
I never thought I'd feel fear like that again. I thought I'd mastered all that. You're not my father. I mean, I'm not afraid to die. But I realize now there's something I haven't got past. This fear. If ever going through any of that again. Of losing somebody I care about.
This is why Bruce pushes Alfred away earlier in the movie. He's afraid of being close to him, because being close to Alfred means potentially losing Alfred, and that would reopen the trauma of losing his parents all over again. That's another reason why Bruce spends the vast majority of the film in costume as Batman. Not only because he sees so little value in being Bruce Wayne, but because being Bruce Wayne, ironically, is more frightening to Bruce than being Batman. This imbalance between the Bruce Wayne and Batman personas is so severe that even when he's not patrolling Gotham as Batman, he's watching footage of himself patrolling Gotham as Batman. Alfred has to schedule a meeting with Wayne Enterprise accountants behind Bruce's back since he's so unwilling to be regular Bruce Wayne. Batman has consumed his entire life to the point that Bruce Wayne, functionally, doesn't exist. And when Bruce does attend the mayor's funeral as his civilian alter ego, only as an attempt to gain intel on the Riddler, mind you, Bella Real encourages him to do more for the city as a philanthropist, and when she asks him to stay there as she offers her condolences to the mayor's family, Bruce doesn't even respond. He literally stands there and doesn't say anything. This version of Bruce Wayne either doesn't know how to interact with people or doesn't care to interact with people, which makes it all the more impactful by the end of the film when he realizes the most important part of being Batman is just that: people. When one of the Riddler's followers proclaims that,
I'm vengeance.
it of course mirrors Bruce's ideology and statement earlier in the film. In this moment, Bruce realizes how close he is to becoming this man, how close he is to allowing his vengeance to consume him. And directly after Bruce comes to this revelation, disaster strikes. A live wire dangling over the flooded Gotham Square garden threatens to electrocute the innocent Gothamites below. And remarkably, Bruce manages to cut the wire and save them from a terrifying death. But dozens, if not hundreds of people are trapped in the rubble and struggling to escape the flood. And as Batman emerges from the water, he lights a flare, guiding the frightened and wounded out of the darkness and quite literally becoming a beacon of hope for the people of Gotham City. Riddler may have caused irreparable damage to Gotham's literal and metaphorical infrastructure, but it's Batman who ultimately wins here by repairing the city's faith in the goodness of people. Previously, when the pair came face to face in Arkham, Riddler even revealed that he thought Batman was working with him the entire film, and that Batman would be on his side. A revelation that is shocking in the moment, but not all that surprising when you take a step back to examine Bruce's actions throughout the film. While Batman and Riddler share the same goal of rooting out crime and corruption from Gotham City, their methods of course are very different. Yet Bruce Wayne and Edward Nashton have both severely isolated themselves from the world, and they both spend their evenings feverishly filling notebooks with writing that is, at best, borderline disturbing. If the mask that Bruce dons in most other interpretations of the character is that of a playboy billionaire, then the Bruce Wayne of this film doesn't even bother to don that mask. He is a shell of a human being, an empty body with no real identity that's just biding time until he can wear the cape and cowl again. In a strange way, just like the Riddler, Bruce Wayne is a nobody with no real connections to other people. At least, that's how Bruce views himself for most of the story. That's why my favorite moment in the entire film is when Batman, damp with grime and battling exhaustion, carries this injured woman from the wreckage of the election stage onto a stretcher. And as he gets up to leave, she leaps up and grabs his arm. And when he looks down into her eyes, she's afraid. She doesn't need vengeance in that moment. She needs comfort and reassurance and connection. While I could heap loads of praise onto Pattinson's performance as Bruce Wayne and Batman in this film, I think this moment is all I really need to talk about. Because Bruce initially seems confused by this girl's actions, as if he's thinking, why would this person come to me for comfort? But then he realizes that this right here, is what matters. Not beating down Gotham's criminals, but lifting up Gotham's citizens. Being the person who is there for them when no one else can be. That's why Bruce Wayne needs to be Batman. And that's only a lesson he's able to learn after living through the journey he goes on in this movie. If you contrast this moment with Batman's first interaction with a civilian that he rescues, the responses Batman receives could not be more different. For a character who has shut himself off from nearly every form of human connection, presumably for his entire life, it is genuinely beautiful to see that character finally choose to connect with other human beings. The Batman isn't only a quintessential Batman story, it's a quintessential superhero story. One that understands that the true power of superheroes lies in their ability to inspire. It wasn't an easy journey for Bruce to learn that, and it won't be an easy journey for Bruce to continue on that path. But I, for one, cannot wait to see where the Batman goes next.
Wednesday, November 6th. YouTube is under maintenance. The copyright claims are coming. Content ID is in effect, but the video essayists never sleep. Vlogging and response videos will be rampant in the parts of the community no one can stomach. I can already see things will get worse before they get better, and some will seize the chance to grab every subscriber they can. I'm starting to see now. I have had an effect here, but not the one I intended. Uploading won't change the stats, mine or anyone else's. I have to forego analytics. Viewers need change, to know Critical Rants is out there for them. This website is angry and drained, like me. Our workloads can destroy us, even after the videos have been released. But if we can survive them, they can give us the power to subscribe and the strength to like.